Hello, everyone. Welcome to Belle's Beyond podcast by Belle Sisters. My name is Massey Chi, and I am your beloved host. And today I have with me Dr. Kim, who is an engineer, an educator, and a social impact leader. She is the director of education for Empowered to Restore, where she focuses on building sustainable education and vocational pathways globally. And then through dissertation accountability partners, she supports scholars and leaders in developing the mindset, structure, and discipline needed to complete what they start. So, welcome to the show, Dr. Kim.
Thank you so much. It is a pleasure to be with you today.
Thank you. So, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself? Much more than, just what I said.
Well, a lot has changed since I did apply to be on your podcast. I am
Oh.
no longer the director of educational and vocational schools for Empowered to Restore. So therefore, I'm now focusing on dissertation accountability partners, and
Mhm.
we are in a transition period. But let me back up.
Okay.
You are correct. I was an engineer. I worked on major projects throughout the United States. A lot of my projects were done in Miami, and several of my projects were done at the Kennedy Space Center, where they were better known as NASA. So that's where a lot of my work was done. I was not formally employed by NASA. I was employed by a contractor who worked with NASA. So I
Hmm.
did have a go with that for about 10 years. And then I transitioned into the IT realm where I worked with a major broadcasting system as they transferred their equipment from analog to digital. So I have been done different realms of engineering, and it's all the
Hmm.
same, but it's different every time you do a project.
Yeah.
And after that, I transitioned into the education realm.
Okay. So, you said backup, so I'm gonna take you back.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna take you back. Can you tell us a little bit more about, and of course, that's if you're able to, because I don't know if there is like NDA or anything
No.
in really. Okay. So can you take us back to the projects that you worked on when you were in Florida, when you were a contractor, well, when you were with the contractor that was contracted by NASA?
Yes, yes, yeah. Um, I was working with an organization and they had the base operation contract, the BOC. So therefore, any maintenance that was needed to be done on Kennedy Space Center, they came to the BOC contractors to get it done. My role was the electrical portion because I'm an electrical engineer. So
Mm.
I love to tell people, you see my work, but you really don't see my work. They're like, well, how? I said, turn the switch up and you'll see the
Yeah.
lights come on. You plug something in and it works. So that's my work when you really don't see my work. One of my
Mhm.
projects was to help refurbish the vehicle assembly building, and that's where they were doing the shuttle and doing where they would assemble the shuttle. So
Mhm.
they did because the building is old, they had to refurbish it, and we had to put in new electrical systems. I also was responsible for reducing the lighting or the power grid by 20% through the lighting initiative, meaning
Mhm.
that we took out a lot of the old lights and replace them with the newer lights that did not consume as much energy.
Energy.
And they
Mm.
did not have a lot of mercury in the newer lights. So therefore, well, they didn't have any mercury in the newer lights. So that was another project of mine. And then the other one was a lot of the buildings. They had to redo all the bathrooms because, of course, they were old. They did not
Mhm.
meet ADA requirements. So one of the civil engineers and I got together and we started having a lot of fun, putting in crazy colors So you know what building you were in. Oh, we were in the building with the purple bathroom. Oh, we had teal in this one. So we had a lot of fun with that. So it was a great experience, and we got to see different shuttles. All the shuttles go up, meet the astronauts when they came back. It was a really great experience to do. And I was glad to report that my grandson now works at the Space Center.
Oh, that's wonderful. Carrying on the family legacy.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so I'm actually intrigued. How did you get into electrical engineering?
That's such an interesting conversation. When I was younger, my mother always said, "You're not going to sit around this house in the summer and do nothing." So she always found paths for us to try. Um, in Philadelphia, they have what's called PYN, the Youth Network, where they find people jobs, teenagers jobs. But it wasn't called that when I was growing up. But there was a job around the corner, so I worked at the what we called the lodge. I worked around there, helped keep it clean and that. Then we transitioned to working at the hospital as a
Mm-hmm.
server of food. And then my mother found the engineering program called Minority Engineering to Introduction at Drexel University. She signed me up and off I went. And at that particular time, we were introduced to electrical, mechanical, structural, and civil engineering.
Mm,
And they gave us little projects to do. They also helped us with our math and our English so we would be prepared and we understand what it was like to go to a college. They gave us a civil engineering to build something. Mine did not stay. It fell
mhm.
down. Oh, we're not doing that. I'm
Oh,
not
nope,
doing that.
not building these bridges.
No, that bridges are structural. So
Oh,
they
that's
gave
structure.
that's
Okay.
structural. So they gave me a thing to do for building a bridge using aluminum, steel, and plastic rod. And no, they fell off. I'm like, okay, we're not doing that. And they continued to give us things to do. So they finally gave us a project where we had to build a calculator. Calculators were not relevant or not as readily available back then as they are now. So I
Mm,
built the calculator. I learned how to solder. Learned about the LEDs. I learned about all the keys and everything that went in there. I put it all together, put the batteries in, turned it on. It worked.
you
I
were.
can do that. And that's how I came to, that's how I got interested in engineering.
Wow. No,
Yeah,
but you do see how just how basically your mom was the one that, helped you get interested in a couple of things, as you said. She said, no child of mine is just going to be idle. And I
right.
think it's very interesting and it just shows how, as an adult, you can make impression on kids. Because
Yes.
think about it. What if, your mom didn't say that and you just stayed home during the summer? Maybe you might not have gone into electrical engineering as you did.
You're absolutely right. My mother was a nurse.
Mm-hmm.
Most of my family members are educators. So
Mm-hmm.
I always said I do not want to be a teacher, nor do I want to
Mm.
be a nurse.
Okay.
I always said that. So now I've come full circle. Now I'm in the educational realm.
Education.
But
Mm-hmm.
it was just always a nurse. I saw my mother working. I never saw her on the job, but all I know is she dealt with blood.
And you said, nope, we're
No,
not doing it. We're
that's
not
not
doing
work.
that. Mm-mm.
That's not working for me.
Mm-mm.
And then all the other relatives that were educators, I don't want to do what they're doing. I want to do something different. I
Mm-hmm.
did grow up with my father, with just my mother, but I've learned that my father was a drafter and an engineer.
Mm-hmm.
And also, my mentor was one of the first Black engineers to graduate from Drexel University.
Oh,
So that was a lot of pressure trying to get me to see how to do things correctly, and
wow.
I made it through.
You did. You did. Yes. Okay, wonderful. So, can you, tell us about your journey? So I know you You mentioned you were in Florida, where you were working as the contractor for roughly 10 years.
Yes.
So can you tell us about your journey, and then even how you were able to get into the education space now?
Oh, my journey was really interesting. I moved down to Florida from
Mhm.
Philadelphia after I graduated from Temple University. I moved down there to get married. It did not work out, but I but I stayed. My sister was down there, so I stayed.
Mm,
Then I was working with an A&E firm, architectural engineering firm.
mhm.
Back then, you just walk up to the organization, you fill out an application, you hand it to them, and they say you're hired or you're not hired. It's not what
So
they
easy.
right, not what they do now, where you have to have all this going through technology and they're
Yep.
scrubbing.
And the 5 steps
Right,
process.
it's not it was not anything like that. And the very
Mhm.
first company that I worked with um, gave me a glowing recommendation.
Recommendation.
And then I
Mhm.
took it to and then the very first place that I applied for in Miami, they said, "Oh, sure, we can hire you." I'm like, "Wow, I got a job." I've always been the first Black at all my jobs, and I've always been the
Mhm.
first Black female engineer. I never
Mm.
knew that, so that never played in my head. I just knew I got a job. Oh, I found a job, Mom. I found a job. And from there, it was just a learning. Every time I was doing a project, it was just a learning ability, learning how to
Mhm.
conduct field surveys, learning how to make blueprints, because blueprints are not something that we normally see. You have to run it through a machine with all the alcohol smell, pneumonia smells, and yeah, you set the whole building on fumes. So you're
Mhm.
like, everybody's like, I'm about to run a print. Everybody runs outside, gives about 5 minutes to clear up, and you come back in. So we did that, but it was a great opportunity for me to learn the different ways electrical engineering plays in the design field. You have
Mm.
commercial buildings, you have residential buildings, you have industrial buildings. Even though they're all buildings,
Mhm.
they are all something different. They all require different electrical entities. So it was
Mhm.
just, knowing what to do, how to do it, and when to do it. And that stayed with me throughout all the things that I've done. Then I did get married and moved up to the what they call the Space Coast, and that's where I started working for the contractors of NASA at the Kennedy
Mhm.
Space Center. And right across the bridge was right now it's called the Space Force Air
Mhm.
Force Station, but it used to be Cape Canaveral Air Force Station. So you teeter back and forth on all that. And again, we already talked about how my job was to help maintain the electrical systems, upgrade them, because the buildings are very, very old. They started the space program back in the 50s and the 60s.
Mhm.
And I was working there in the 1990s. So there was a lot of things that could go wrong. So we had to do all that. And how I got into the educational field is kind of interesting because I don't even know how I got in there. I started working on my doctorate degree,
Mhm.
and it's in organizational management with an emphasis in information system technology.
Okay. Mhm.
But while I was going through the process of getting my doctorate, everybody kept asking me for information. Well, how do I do this? How do you do that? Well, how did you
Mhm.
get done so fast? And what are you doing? And I started testing, and I'm like, well, answering all these questions.
Questions. Yeah.
Why not make it a business? So after I graduated in 2020, I decided to keep testing it. And once I was able to solidify, get everything in order, I turned it into a business. So now, right, I work with graduate students working on their
Mhm.
doctorate as an advisor, as a coach, so they are able to maneuver through a lot of the comments, a lot of the downtime from when their chairs and the committee people are not working with them. I
Mhm.
work with them along the way, so they do not get discouraged. and
Mm-hmm.
they're able to continue on. When I was going through my degree, I was so discouraged. I wasn't confident in my writing. I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't confident in my work, and my chair kept saying, "Just keep writing." So that really, I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't want
Right.
anything like that to work with anybody,
Mm-hmm.
especially African Americans or Black people. We already
Mm-hmm.
have to work twice as hard.
Yeah.
So that's why dissertation, well, that's how dissertation accountability came about.
Yeah. Wow. So that's like you said, that's an interesting journey.
Yeah,
And you know, it's so funny how a lot of the people I've spoken to usually how they've started their businesses, they see this problem and they're like, well, people are asking me those questions. I too, that was how I started my business, right? It
hmm,
was people asking me to do certain services and I was doing it for my friends for free. And I said,
right.
wait, I can actually make money from this. So yeah, but how has that transition been for you going into entrepreneurship?
It was a great transition.
Okay.
I had some friends that were a part of Empower to Restore Ministries, which is a
Mm-hmm.
global entity. They asked me to come on board,
Mm-hmm.
and I came on board. They do missions work overseas, and the first time I went, it was just very, very eye-opening, heartbreaking. It was just I did not come back the same person. I
Mm-hmm.
began to value what I have or what we have in the United States. We have clean water. We have
Mm-hmm.
access to medical care. We
Mm-hmm.
have access to cars and roads. We have access to all those things. And a lot of
Mm-hmm.
places in the African countries that I visited, they didn't have that.
Mm-hmm.
Their education system is a great system for them. But speaking with people who send their children to the United States, we find out that their children, even though they may be in the eighth grade, they're usually put back a year or two because of the language barrier, and they do not take the same standardized tests that the United States people do. And when
Mm-hmm.
they do take them, they do not pass them, so therefore they're put back.
Mm-hmm.
So I began to notice different things, and I continued to work with Empower to Restore. And then I was asked to be the director of education and vocational schools. They have 8 schools. Six of them are in the African continent, and two of them are in India, I believe. So we were working with them, helping to upgrade their policies, put policies and procedures in place that they can work with, do professional development for their teachers so they know
Mm-hmm.
how to work with their students. So they continue to get training. I
Mm-hmm.
also found out for those teachers in certain countries, they only need a high school diploma to teach kindergarten to second grade,
Mm-hmm.
an associate's degree to teach from third grade to eighth grade, and a bachelor's degree to teach high school. So we were in the process of making sure that the professional development was able to help augment their educational needs and their educational goals. So
Mm-hmm.
those are the things that we were had in progress. We implemented a sewing center. It was vocational school where we were taking or allowing, not really allowing, giving young women the opportunity to learn how to a trade such as sewing and tailoring
Mm-hmm.
and to be able to sustain themselves as well as their family if they had a family. So a
Mm-hmm.
lot of them have gone through that. We've graduated 700 and almost 800 students as of
Wow.
January.
Wow.
So that was a 2 to 3 year period. And
Mm-hmm.
several of them have opened up their own businesses, and several of them have sought other employment but they took their transferable skills, the
Mhm.
communication, project management, time management. They've taken those skills with them to become employable somewhere else. So
That's amazing. That's amazing. Um, I feel like this is more of a purpose ministry for you than it is a business. Correct me if I'm wrong.
it is a purpose because I know how I started. Like you said, it was my mother who planted the seed.
Mm-hmm.
It was her mother who planted the seed. And if I can plant the seeds into people and know that they are valued,
Mm-hmm.
education is the key to doing anything that they and anything and everything that they want to do.
I don't want to do.
If we I can plant that seed, then it works for me. That's why I don't mind my job because it's not really a job. I have a good time with my job. I have a lot of people and I just crack jokes and they're like, "Oh, I'm so tired of you." I said, "Okay, you might be tired of me. However, you're going to finish this project whether you like it or not. We're going to finish it together." I have graduated, I think, three people so far from the university as doctors. So it's a great they're my children. I end up
Yeah.
crying and acting crazy, and they're like, "Are you crying?" I'm like, "I'll stop, I'll stop." So, but yeah, but this is a purpose for me to see
Mm-hmm.
other people succeed. When they succeed, when you succeed, I'm all for it.
Yes, yes, that makes sense. Well, first of all, thank you for all you do. We need more people like you in the world.
Thank you're welcome.
Okay, so now I know that you mentioned you are no longer the director of education in Empower to Restore. So, and then you are focusing on dissertation accountability partners.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So can you tell us a little bit more about dissertation accountability partners? Yeah, just more about it when you started it, what the process is. I know a little while back you did mention that you help, graduate students who are going through that dissertation process so they don't face all the issues that you face. But if you can shed maybe a little more light on maybe what kind of graduate students when you started. Yeah.
I started back in 2020 when I started before that when I was in graduate school working on my
Mhm.
doctorate. I was working with people when we have residencies where you travel to a location, everybody comes together and they work on a certain project. And
Mhm.
I tended to be the person who would take the lead in everything. Don't ask me why, but I was the person who tended
I
to
was
do.
going to ask you why, but okay. Moving
And
forward.
well, I believe it's because of the engineering background. That's
Okay.
and I always was a lead on a project or the second lead on a project. So I've always taken the lead. I'm good with the organization. I'm good with
Mhm.
able to see or to see forward what problems may arise. So therefore, I try to
Mhm.
mitigate them. Okay, we're going to do it this way. How about you guys do this, you guys do that, and we just all come together, and and we'll find out what's going on, instead
Mhm.
of us sitting here bickering for 15 minutes of who wants to do what. Just like
Mhm.
so, and if I find out that it worked a lot better for me. Not because I was in the lead, but it helped everybody become a lot more calmer and we were able to get the project done on time. As an engineer, my projects had to come in on time, under budget. I could never like it has to be on time, under budget. So we did that, and then as I progressed through my journey, it took me 10 years to finish because, as the children say, life be lifing. I got divorced, lost everything, moved up to help my mother, and things and all that kicked into play. But I
Mhm.
still was able to finish because I knew the value of the education. As I
Mhm.
told my children, no matter what you do in your life, no matter how much money you have or how many material things that you own, all
Mhm.
of it can be taken away from you. However, if you have an education,
Your
if you
knowledge.
can read, write,
Mhm.
understand, do math, you can
Mhm.
rebuild yourself.
Yes.
And I tell all the students that I come in contact with that material things, money will always be there, but it's not the path. Education is your path.
Yes.
So when people were asking me those questions and how to help them, as I
Mhm.
said before, you know, this can be a business. And I put it through a couple of my friends. Well, what do you think if I do this? Or what do you think if I do this? Well, what do you think I should call it? You know, so therefore we ended up with dissertation accountability partners, or DAP for short.
Mhm.
And I just work with people no matter what stage they are in their dissertation process. I actually have a meeting with a gentleman tomorrow because he wants to start. And
Mhm.
most people start and they don't understand what is all involved. The
Mhm.
time commitment, the things that you miss, the
Mhm.
fun, no vacation. Or if you're
Yeah.
taking a vacation, you're dragging a laptop with you.
Yeah.
A
Mhm.
lot of people don't understand the commitment that is required to do this, to work on your doctorate. So I'm going to speak with him tomorrow. Then I worked with another young lady. She was in the data transformation process, and she was trying to do a lot of things, learn a new software. And I'm like, well, why are you trying to learn a new software? What did you put in your IRB application? How would you say that,
Mhm.
okay, so just don't do it. You transcribed all the the video recordings yourself. You
Mhm.
know the material, just start answering the questions and writing it. And when you
Mhm.
get to why you didn't use the software, you can just say learning curve was too high, price was prohibited, therefore you had to do it by hand.
Yeah.
So she's like, wow, you saved me a lot of
A lot
angst
of yeah.
and a lot of stress. She was able to finish that particular section within 2 weeks, so she was able to graduate
Mhm.
without stressing herself out even further.
Yeah.
So I work with a lot, and I work with students from the start to the finish.
Yeah.
One young lady just finished in January. She just walked stage in January, was hooded. She finished in August, but her dissertation was African American leaders. I believe it was Christian African American leaders and their impact on education.
Oh,
Right. It was a
well,
great
well, she
topic.
was talking about you.
Well, she wasn't talking about me, but it was such a great topic.
Yeah.
My other person did how professional development and the perspectives of the teachers is, it does it work, does it not work, how can it be
Mhm.
better, what changes to implement. So the titles are great. And
Yeah.
then one of the students that I work with, hers was social emotional learning, and how coming through COVID, a lot of the children are, not the children, but a lot of the adults don't understand social emotional learning. And because they don't understand it, a lot of the things that they are doing may trigger the students.
Mm.
So she is working on that and trying to um, um, not rebrand it, but actually, Dr. Norton worked with me on social emotional learning and training for the professional development that was held on the trip that I just came from.
Mm.
So, there's is things that are people don't really understand that there is a problem. We're now given reasons to why the problem exists and how to mitigate it.
How to mitigate it. Yes.
Yes. So
Yes.
that's why dissertation accountability partners is around.
Yes. So, okay. Well, so that was how you started the
Mhm.
business, and that's what the business does. So, So you've been in the business for a minute now. I want to say 5 years,
5 years.
roughly.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, when, as a new entrepreneur, right, what would you advise them to focus on first?
As a new entrepreneur, focus on your why.
Mm,
Why are you getting into this business? Why do you want to do this business?
mm-hmm.
Once you understand your why, then you can move on to how am I going to do it? And then you continue on. It's not a silo. Do not work in a silo. As a business, an entrepreneur, you have to work with other people.
Yes, you have to.
Because trying to do it by yourself, you become frustrated, you
Mm-hmm.
become broke, you become,
No, it
after,
doesn't. It doesn't work. Yes, that's why we have Bell sisters too. It doesn't. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
right, it really doesn't work. So now you want to make sure that you are doing everything in an orderly fashion and following the process. You,
Mm-hmm.
I say to some students, you cannot start a business waiting for everybody to, jump to the end. I'm going to make $1 million. Well, how are you getting that $1 million? What steps are you
Yeah.
taking to make sure that you make that $1 million?
Mm-hmm.
And then you just have to continue to follow the process. Make sure you file for your EIN, depending
Mm-hmm.
on what city and state you live in. Make sure you file all your paperwork with that.
Mm-hmm.
Again, get an accountant or an attorney to help you. Those fees that you're using, they are tax deductible. So
Yes, they are. You can write them off.
you can write them off.
Legally.
Yes,
Legally. You can.
yes.
Yes.
So,
Mm.
but having an accountant or an attorney do them for you, you know they're done correctly.
Yes, of course. Mm-hmm.
And then you know that all of them are done at the same time. I did know that I needed an EIN, but I did not know I needed articles of incorporation.
Mm.
So my accountant and his organization, they did all that work for me. I'm like, yeah, here's the check. There you go.
Yeah.
And it made it so much easier for me to go to the city and file and get my permission to work in the city.
Mm-hmm.
So, the other thing, after you understand your why and you know your purpose and you've gone through all the paperwork, test it out. Test it out. Don't test it out on friends because friends are going to tell you what you want to hear. Oh, this is a great idea. Or you may have the friends who are not your friends and don't want to see you succeed. A lot of us do, tell everything, and then when it doesn't work, we're trying to figure out what happened.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody is in your corner. Not everybody wants you to succeed.
Yeah.
So you find the people that may want to use your services or your product and try it on them, test it on them. And if it doesn't work, keep going. It's not working because it's not right. It's you haven't found the right
The right.
formula or you haven't found the
Yeah.
right service or you haven't found the right process. But just keep
Mm.
going.
Yeah, I think that's one of the, advice. Keep going. I think that's one of the advice I would also give because I think sometimes we tend to give up too easily,
Yes.
right? When I listen to, so there are a couple of people I listen to people like Alex Hormozy. I don't know if you know those people, but I listen to entrepreneurs daily,
Hmm.
and you realize the grit and determination that these people possess,
Yes.
right? It's like every day they wake up at the same time, they do the same boring thing over and over again, and they keep trying, right? I can't remember. I was talking to someone who talked about how when they first started their marketing, they said they had to go and distribute up to 500 flyers hand to hand
Right.
to even get three, I think it was, I don't know if it was three calls or three businesses, one of them.
Right.
And I was like, wow.
Right.
So, yes, entrepreneurship requires so much grit, so much consistency, and a lot of determination. So, yes, as Dr. Kim said, keep going, and you would definitely get the right formula or process or um, whatever it is that you need for your business to move forward.
Right. And you spoke about the person that you were talking to, how they had to hand deliver everything.
Mhm.
A lot of us now depend on
On
technology to do it.
technology, yes.
A
Hmm.
lot of people like that face-to-face communication.
Hmm.
So if you start off communicating face-to-face, then transition to
Technology.
technology, the emails, and makes it a lot easier because now you have a face to put with the name.
Yeah.
You don't have a face, or well, I don't have to deal with them because I don't know who they
I'm
are.
over there. Yeah.
Right. And I also, like you, love to read. Right now, I'm reading Brave Leadership, Unleash Your Most Confident and Powerful Self.
Hmm.
And it's Kimberly. I actually met her at a TED Talk, a
Hmm.
TEDx talk.
TEDx talk. Hmm.
But her book was really, really powerful.
Mm.
So I'm about to download a couple more books. So when I go on my vacation, I will have some books
Yeah.
to listen to and read.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I love reading. Right now I'm reading two books. I'm reading Cybernetics. I can't remember the author, but
Hmm.
and then I'm also reading The Mountain is You. So that one kind of shows how you self-sabotage yourself
Yes.
and how you have to be very intentional. Because if not, and the thing is, you self-sabotage yourself, and it's not like you're trying to even do that, but it's just the patterns and the things, and you repeat it over and over, and before you know it, a year, 5 years have passed, and you've become this person that hasn't really accomplished
Right.
what they wanted to.
Right. And a lot of women come up with the imposter syndrome. I'm
Yeah.
not, I don't belong at the table. I don't belong in this space. So learning how to overcome that plus the self-sabotaging, I'm not good
Mhm.
enough. Maybe I didn't do it right. It's so much that goes on, not even in business, it's in your
Yeah,
daily
in
life.
your daily life. Hmm.
Right. And I've heard that it said it takes 60 days to make 30 days to make a pattern or a habit, 90 days to break it.
Hmm.
So once you've gotten to the funk of, oh, I'm not good enough, now you have 90 days to start saying, I believe
I
in
am good
myself.
enough.
I am good enough. You're right. So
Yeah.
it's a double-edged sword that we as females have, because most people expect us to get married, have a family, take care of the family. You may or may not work, but they don't expect you as a female to run businesses. So we're now changing the narrative
Hmm.
and we're making everything work for our good. And one thing I was amiss to say that, God is ahead of my life. So he already knows my journey, even though I don't quite follow his journey, his path, but we get everything done in the time that he allots me to get it done. So
Yeah. Yes. Thank you so much, Dr. Kim. So, as we are wrapping up, what is one thing that you would love the listeners to leave with here today?
the one thing that I would love your listeners to leave with is believe in yourself.
Mm.
You can do it. As long as you put your mind to it, you can do it. And by doing that, get the education that you need. It doesn't have to be formal education. It
Mhm.
can be talking to people. It can be listening to podcasts. It can be reading books or taking classes. You don't have to sign up to take formal classes. There's several organizations that give free classes.
Yeah.
So just you can always continue to learn and believe in
Learn.
yourself, and because you can do it. I
Yes.
believe in you.
Yes. Thank you. Yes, my friend says always be learning. Chimamanda, she's one of the authors I love so much. I've read all her books ever since I
Mhm.
was 12. Her first book on purple hibiscus. She says something. She said she is a student of life.
Yes.
So forever learning. And that resonated so much with me because, yeah, I'm always reading. I'm always reading. I'm always trying to find some certification to take or something to learn. So, yes, um, believe in yourself. Thank you, Dr. Kim.
And I thank you very much for the Bell Sisters for inviting me to be on your podcast. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you. So, I am going to tell our listeners a little bit more about our community. Bell Sisters is a safe and intentional community for women of color, mostly Black women, who are navigating business and life. Uh, because again, we know as a woman, it's not just the business that you're juggling, there is also the life aspect of it. So, if you're listening and you have been craving genuine sisterhood, you've been craving honest conversations like this, you can visit our website and you can, go through our website, just figure out the membership that works best for you, and you can come join us. So, thank you everyone for listening, and I'll see you all in the next episode.